Guest is in the studio, John Krant. I remember when he came, the first time he came, I was for almost the whole show I was calling him John Grant. So just that observation, that awareness of being alert and paying attention is so important.
Jet setter.
Well, we jet setting this morning. So John Krant, wow, author of Self-Recruiter, Changing the Rules, How to Be Your Own Recruiter and Ride the Economic Crisis to Your Next Career Challenge. This book has changed so many lives, and you go around and help so many people. You speak at the YMCAs, you speak at the New York Public Libraries. You are a recruiter, a motivational speaker, mentor. You're doing it, man. You're living life, you're enjoying life, and helping people. And you are a LinkedIn, would you say LinkedIn expert?
I would say LinkedIn expert.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know how to work LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I like LinkedIn because it's not like Facebook, where Facebook is very social. You can do business. A lot of people do business on Facebook, sure. But for the most part, it's very social. LinkedIn is about business. And I was telling my friend Doug, that LinkedIn, you have a lot of CEOs that frequent LinkedIn.
You know, CEO can be just like anybody else. They sit and, you know, they are struggling far less than the rest of us, but they're still struggling on their own journey, thinking about their own career, where they could take it, and they need to raise their profile also. That means they have to be on LinkedIn, they have to be communicating with people. It's no longer just okay to, you know, sit off in some tower somewhere. You have to become involved, even if you're at the top of the food chain, and you can't get left behind. The beauty of this is something like LinkedIn, you know, very similar to the kind of democratization that happens on Facebook, but something like LinkedIn levels the playing field for everyone, and that means anybody has access. No more limits.
Now, but the first thing, I see a lot of people on LinkedIn, and they send me a request, and sure. I might know the person, but they don't have a photograph. How could they send me a request with a photograph? Or a picture of some flowers or some rainbow.
Or some like anime drawing.
Yeah.
You know,
or of their logo.
You know, those folks, I think they just, they don't quite understand LinkedIn or what it is. You know, what it really is a perception management tool. So you'd like to be perceived as an anime?
Perception management tool. Wow.
You can control, really, or have great influence, if not control, and really I'd argue that is control, on how people conclude about you professionally. And that means you deciding what is that narrative and essentially building out a cultivated garden of all the things that you've been involved in. Those can be your work things, those can be your community involvement things, because we're three-dimensional real human beings. Our whole story needs to be up on LinkedIn. That's how we're more interesting than our competitors.
Our whole story needs to be on LinkedIn.
Sure. Even the things that maybe not work life, but something that's, say, passionate and driving for us in the community. My gosh, that could be the separator. If you are one of the top 5 or 6 candidates, that's the thing that could make you interesting and different, not just cookie cutter. Cookie cutter isn't as exciting anymore. There's lots of cookie cutter. We want people that are interesting, special, different, involved, motivated.
Well, let me just speak to you for a second, because you know, it's amazing seeing you do your work because you love it. When you get up and you speak, you're very humorous, you have a good time, and you love helping people. Man, that is so awesome.
It is just so thrilling. You know, I spent a lot of years as a recruiter, 7, 8 years as a recruiter, and then I spent 3.5 years training all the recruiters across 100 offices before ending up being VP over the whole system. But, you know, that was great, but gosh, it was eating away at my soul constantly when I looked at the harsh numbers. You know, in the real world in recruiting, a good recruiter, and there's a lot of bad recruiters, but a good recruiter places 1 to 2 out of every 100 good candidates they locate, interview, identify, and deem, oh, good candidate. 1 to 2 out of 100. Well, now it's so rewarding to help and see the impact on those 1 to 2 families, but my gosh, eventually you start to go, well, you know, maybe there's another way to use this information to help more folks. And so when I made the shift in what I do now, oh, it's transformative. It's like going from the little worm to the butterfly, really blossoming and you get so much back from helping people. Have a little faith. Take a leap of faith.
Yeah. So one of the things that they said on this video was, try to, make the best of each day.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, you took it even a step further. You said,
well, I think you have to make the best of each day, even when it's 6 in the morning.
yeah.
You know,
But you said
every single day above ground, just like it was saying in that
right.
video.
You said every day above ground is a good day.
That is a blessing and a chance to do anything that we can imagine.
Wow.
If we stop saying no to ourselves, if we stop
Wow.
accepting the message of no from other people. No, 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 it's never going to happen for you. All you can expect is more of this. What terrible messages.
Man, but that right there is so key, to make the best of your life and to try to help as many people as you can. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, that's just, to me, that's the essence of it all.
Rick, you're living the dream, because that's what you do all the time on this show.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so let's go right back to your title, What's in Your Hand.
Yes.
This is about how to take every single asset you may have. And sometimes we don't even realize which ones are the assets till we go and take a true inventory and maybe look with a clearer focus. And we take those assets, those things that we can control, and my gosh, we take that story to LinkedIn, and we can have a tremendous impact on our future.
Yes. I tell you, it was kind of cool. I went to see you at the New York Public Library, SIBL. SIBL stands for Science, Industry, Business Library.
Yep, that's
it's
great
a
library.
Great place, great environment to be in. And let me get back. I'm gonna get back to that story. But when I used to teach boxing at Columbia University, I ran a boxing program there for 11 years.
Boxing for Success, right?
Yeah. I was teaching the students and faculty and anybody involved with Columbia University was taking my classes. We were having a blast. As a kid growing up, I wasn't really a great student.
Mm-hmm.
But here's something funny. Here go me at Columbia University. One of my favorite hangout spots, other than being in the gym, was the library.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hanging out in the library. So that was an amazing transformation for me. And so today, I think the library is a true blessing, and I don't think a lot of people take advantage of the library.
We have one idea of library. Now, we're New Yorkers, so New York and library means maybe something a little bit different than it might mean in other places. But here, this is an institution that brings incredible resources to the people. That particular branch, the Science, Industry, Business Library, the executive director there, Kristen McDonough, just spectacular on pulling in resources and things that will help individuals. I have to share something that's going to help your viewers a lot, and that is the public library, really through their efforts. They were the first in the country at 34th Street in Madison to be able to offer lynda.com access for free. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is.
No.
But that is some of the best both software and non-software training ever. Now, that's $25-30 a month on subscription. But at the public library, they're paying for it, and it's free. And their program that started on just 6 computers expanded to multiple branches, and just in the last 2 months, you can take it at home for free if you have a library card and set up your PIN. Anybody can improve their situation, whether it's some software you need help with or some process you need to learn. There's a solution out there. You have to just, hit the library. It can help you a lot. Great folks.
Wow. But I got some. I don't know how to say this to you. Well, let me take a station ID. An official station ID. We are
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
I got some bad news for you, John.
Alrighty.
I need to let you know I think you're certifiably crazy.
Well, crazy is where the magic happens.
Really?
I hope we don't lose crazy.
Hold that
Crazy is
thought
where
for 1
ideas
second.
happen.
Hold that thought for one. Let me show you what I mean by crazy.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world
Picasso
are the ones who do.
Did you know each one of those people that they showed?
You know, I did. I'll confess right
You knew
now.
all of them.
I'm a big Apple fan, so I've seen that many
You
times.
knew all of those because I don't know each person.
I don't
know
think I
most
knew
of them.
them.
It's about 4 of them that I don't know.
I don't think I knew them all originally when I first saw it, but I've
Yeah.
seen it so many times, and become, you look into going, oh, who are all these people? But I think it's just fantastic.
The dancer, Catherine Dunham.
Can't tell you the name though.
Oh, okay.
Don't test my memory. But you look at those folks, and
what's the guy that did the dome thing? I know his name, but
I don't have it on the top of my head.
okay.
I didn't know there would be a quiz.
Yeah.
But what they're getting to here is this idea that you can't give up possibility. You have to believe it is possible. I tell my audiences all that time, you have to believe in yourself more than the next 5 or 6 people that want that job or want that opportunity or want that next pathway that you'd like to go down. And you have to believe in yourself enough that you take those strides forward.
There was a video that went viral of some young ladies and real young girls in McDonald's, and they got into a fight and they beat up the girl. So I said, I'm thinking different. I'm saying, what if instead of fighting like the way they were fighting, beating up the girl and kicking and all that, let's sit down, let's work on a project together. Let's buy a building. Let's create something. Let's create something innovative. And create something as opposed to fighting, punching. That's like zero.
Too much conflict and nonsense and really infighting between ourselves versus let's combine our efforts and focus that energy and see what things we could transform.
Yeah, like I grew up, in a housing project, and some of the things that we talked about was, we talked about our dreams and what we wanted to accomplish a little bit, but it was like, okay, the Knicks or basketball, football, baseball, mostly sports. But never really like someone came and sat down and said, hey, let's buy a building. Let's get together. I don't know anybody. I don't know how to buy a building. So what? There's the library. We can find out. Let's do the research. Or someone from the community that has a powerful skill or tool that could be shared and taught among the group.
I have to say, last night I was out in Bay Ridge at an event, the New York City Small Business Development Council, and so many small businesses of all different types, all trying to figure out how they move things forward. And it really comes down to, when I was hearing everyone's questions and watching some of the interaction, it is amazing that everybody is trying to solve the same issues. How do I change the equation somehow? How do I figure out how I can do this? And I had an interesting banker. Now, usually I'm not too excited to listen to bankers, but this is really a community bank. It's like I don't want to blast any of the big banks, but we don't, we're different than the big banks because we do it differently. And they really went into all the programs that even the city offers to help small businesses or even people that would like to start a business get a loan. It's like, you know what you need? You need a business plan. You need some projections of where this business plan could go. And then you meet with all the right people that can give you the missing parts that you don't bring from an expertise standpoint. And my gosh, then you can even get a loan to start your business from a bank.
How important is it to have banking relationships?
Well, I think we have to have banking relationships. And I know a lot of people shy away from them, but really, eventually, if we want to grow someplace with our career or maybe start a business or do anything, the longer we have a banking history, the better it is. And so, I would say find a bank that you can relate to and make sense for you, and then get to know the people while you bank. It's not simply about your money being on deposit. Gosh, get to know those people, because you may need those people and their opinion someday to help you.
I found this program I have been taking a look at because it seems very interesting to me. It's kind of weird how I found out about it, but I'm taking a look at it. I'm saying this is valuable, and people don't know about it. It's very, very valuable. And that program, have you ever heard of DA?
VA?
DA.
DA.
It's a program called Debtors Anonymous.
Oh, sure. So
you know about this program?
I do know about it.
Very, very valuable. Very valuable. I think that program is helping a lot of people. But a lot of people don't know about it.
And a lot of people get into a bad situation and they don't know how to get out of it. And putting your head in the sand is not the way to get out of it. It's to let's go get some resources. Let's find out who can help me. And so programs like that, they can help a lot.
Yeah, because I speak to a lot of people and I ask them about money, and they have no clue.
Yeah.
Clueless. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just what it is. I mean, if you never learned how to be good with money, how are you going to know if you never learned?
Yeah, absolutely true.
Now, who taught you how to network, John?
I'll blame it or thank my dad for that. My dad was, my parents were in small business, so, souvenirs, T-shirts, moccasins, back scratchers. Also,
back scratchers?
Like you have a long bamboo back scratcher.
Yeah. He was selling those.
We sold anything a tourist might buy. And, 5-time markup, so God bless Dad for finding a good business. And but we worked very, very hard. And I think, that's where I really learned what I had to focus in on. And he was also very focused on community and giving back. He was a Catholic deacon also, so learned some really good lessons from him.
Community. Sometimes we take community for granted. I think community is very, very important. So what about using LinkedIn as an entrepreneur for entrepreneurial pursuits?
I think it's fantastic. It can be, it depends on what stage we're at, of course. And we may be at a stage that's just an incubation stage where we have a great idea and we're just kind of getting it off the ground, and you begin to really just take your first few steps into that direction with what you might put up on your LinkedIn profile. Or maybe you're already underway and it's about how do you take what you've got started through all your abilities and talents and the effort and everything you put in, and then how do you leverage that and take that up to a new level, something you haven't imagined. And that means presenting yourself and influencing other people on LinkedIn.
I have a friend, and I won't reveal who he is, but he doesn't want to talk to you unless he's talking 25, 50, or 100 million. He doesn't want to talk to you. Anything else is a joke to him. Can he do that kind of work or networking on LinkedIn?
Surprisingly, yes. At first we would think, well, no, of course not, right? But really, LinkedIn is about the same kind of democratization that's happened on Facebook, where these people that used to be far beyond our reach are suddenly accessible to us. Now, you're going to have a very compelling message to get an individual like that to respond to you. But if your target audience or your target customer or whoever you're going to interact with is at that level, they tend to also be out there because they need to push message also on social media, and that makes them accessible. You just have to put your brain to work and think about how you create interest.
Right. That's right. Wow. That's what it is. Create the interest.
There's no more limits any longer if you don't accept limits, and that's the really exciting piece. Anybody can control their destiny if they will just believe it and take control.
Do you do any motivational training?
I do. It's really integrated into everything that I speak about. I give 9 different lectures for as you had mentioned, the New York Public Library, the Department of Labor, also Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, a number of other places. Last year I actually found myself in front of the Harvard Business School Club of New York City, pinching myself, going, oh my gosh, how did I get here? But, this is information everybody needs. And so to be able to have these tools that can just change everything with a little bit of effort. This isn't about money. I personally only use the free version of LinkedIn. And so when I talk to folks, I some of them are not motivated because they're afraid of the financial end. It's like, well, there's no money involved unless you want to spend it, but you don't need to. And so I think motivation comes from giving people a few of the tools, but also inspiring them that a little bit of perspiration can produce the result, that it's not a fantasy. But they've got to believe it first.
So I guess it depends on what a person is trying to do, how they would pursue LinkedIn. But they're going with a strategy. So do you help people strategize according to what they're pursuing?
Well, I really do. And, of course, everyone faces different challenges. One interesting, individual that I'm thinking about, and actually there are videos up on my website if you want to see their words themselves. But, this individual, when I met them, this was, I think, a year ago, March. When I first
let me have the website.
Selfrecruiter.com.
Okay.
And when I met this individual, I met them at the library. Got there a little bit early for one of my lectures and just happened to meet this individual.
Okay.
And when I met them, they were hanging out at the library 4 years after being laid off.
Wow.
They got laid off in 2008 after the crash. And, they tried everything. This is a person that was, I guess facing about 50. So you think, oh, it's an age thing going on. They're also African American and they're dark complected. And I don't live in a world where I don't think that affects. It shouldn't affect. That's another issue. But I'm a realist, I think, so there's probably some of that in there. But if you talk to this guy 2 or 3 minutes, you suddenly go, oh my gosh, why are you not working? He's that good in customer service. He got laid off from Pitney Bowes. And he's always been able to get another job. He's always been able to walk out that door, walk in the next door, and get that job. But after the crash, he started to get turned away at the door. Lost his confidence. And had never heard of LinkedIn. And once he took control and saw there's a solution to this, I just give up now. Why give up? You're only 50. You got a lot of years left. Unless we get hit by a bus or something that could happen to any of us. But hey, we got a lot of years left. Let's plan ahead. And so he built out this great customer service story, which is true for all these brands that he's done it for on LinkedIn. And then he used that to go after the 3 companies he would like to work for. I'm a big fan of, we fall in this habit, this trap essentially of looking for job postings. I can tell you why that's a little bit of a trap. But so he'd fallen in that trap. No one's responding. It's going nowhere. And I said, well, take a little risk then. Don't be careless, but take a little risk. It's been 4 years you're not working. Why don't you not look for job postings for a few weeks? Why don't you instead just pick 3 companies? The 3 companies you desire to work for. And then use LinkedIn to reach out to them. Open 25 or 30 people's profiles that work at that company. Ask those 25 or 30 people to connect with you up the food chain, down the food chain, left and right from where you'd like to work. And then be brave enough to, out of that pool of 25 to 30, pick the 3, 4, or 5 individuals that you think somehow might be involved in the decision process for the job that you might like. And then you reach out to them directly. Well, this guy's name's Jerry. That's what Jerry did. Suddenly he sees, there's a solution to this problem. And he goes through this whole process so excited because the boss actually connected with him. Then he emails the boss directly. So excited, but no response. But you know what? Now he's fired up. He knows there's a solution. He combines it with his own technique and just walks right in that door to meet his connection. Walks right up to the desk and says, hi, I'm here to see Larry. I'm his connection on LinkedIn. Oh, he's not here today. Oh, but he's prepared now. He knows to take all of his assets and line them up and have them ready. And he's ready with the next name on his list. Oh, I'm also connected to so-and-so. And she happened to be standing there talking to reception. Looked a little confused because she didn't seem to recognize him. And he says, we're connections on LinkedIn. I was coming in to see Larry to talk about such and such. No, he didn't have an appointment. He talked himself right into the interview and got his job. He had his new job in 3 months, simply coming to my lectures and implementing as much technique as possible. And he got motivated and maybe a little inspired.
Mm-hmm. What's the difference between the presentations that you do at the library as opposed to what you do at the YMCAs?
I think the YMCA, that's really where I started my whole lecture series. And so it's such a warm place in my heart. Well, it's such a great community organization anyway. Mm-hmm. But they really opened the door for me when I approached them about, how can I help their community? What were their needs? And I put together really the similar lectures that I'm doing now, but really to directly address those that came at that point to those lectures. And then I took the lecture series that started at I started at Vanderbilt Y and the West Side Y, and then took it to a number of different YMCAs around the city. But Love that organization. It's a great organization.
So is there any difference between what you do at the Y and in the library?
Overall, there's not a great difference now. As everybody develops and grows, well, even a speaker grows, the content is essentially the same, but I think the motivational component is greatly increased because over the years of speaking and helping individuals, the largest challenge people truly have. Now, we tend to see all of our problems. We have to solve those. But really, our largest challenge is motivational. How do we take that first step? How do we take that first step even though we're afraid?
Well, what are some of the biggest complaints that people are complaining about when they come to your workshops and
Well,
lectures?
this won't work. That won't work. I've already tried that. Well, if we've already feel we've tried everything and it's all failed and we've just given up, guess whose story is over? We have to understand that it's never over. It's not over until we're no longer above ground. Let's go back in. If we got roughed up and it didn't quite work, well, let's figure out maybe our message was wrong. Or maybe we didn't present the right assets on the resume. Maybe some of our best assets we didn't highlight. We may have to go back and reinvent our story. This is not about misrepresenting. This is about going back and discovering the right elements of your story and bringing those elements forward.
Are you a fan of incubators?
Love it. I haven't been directly involved, but I've been tangentially involved with a couple incubators. Both tech incubators, by the way.
Okay. Can you explain what an incubator is?
Well, really, the incubator can be used as several different terms. The ones that I'm looking at, these are really tech incubators. So they're you might say a safe space, which means financially safe, and there's support and there's desire for whatever the efforts are. And usually these are spaces where businesses have a little bit of an extra chance to grow and maybe even a little mentorship from people that really know what they're doing. And so two that I've been tangentially kind of involved in. One, I had a close client that was working for a nonprofit called Case Commons, which is a tech startup nonprofit, very well funded. They're backed by the Anna E. Casey Foundation, which is co-founded by one of the co-founders of UPS from the 1940s. And this larger organization and their more focused Case Commons, they focus exclusively on social work. And so the larger organization has been working in multiple states for a long time. They have social work operations themselves. They advise on best practices. And then they could see the future. And that's why they spun off this Case Commons spin-off tech startup.
Case Commons.
Case Commons. What they're building is something like a Facebook for social workers to better manage their caseload. You imagine social workers running around the office with a stack of file folders, not really having clear access to information. Imagine it's all in one universal place, all the relationships involving the person you're trying to help and everything else. Well, that's one of the places I've been involved in. They were in an incubator space with a lot of other tech startups, which was really interesting. The other one I've been involved with is actually up at Columbia University, at Teachers College.
Columbia University.
Columbia University Teachers College, and the department is called EdLab, and it is Teachers College's software and think tank development arm for education technology. And again, I had another client that worked there and went to a lot of events there where they bring in they're really an incubator for educational technology. So they bring in all these fantastic organizations, and these are places where you can meet folks that may want to hire you. And it may be the same passion that you have. Get involved. Incubators can be fantastic.
I want to listen to this short video here. Let's take a look at this and see what this looks like. Tell me if you know about this.
I'm John Krant, author, career coach, and speaker. And today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about using LinkedIn and getting the best out of social media marketing. Your business is built on perception. Perception of the products, or the services, or of your reputation. Business today is judged by web presence.
That's Jerry, by the way.
Not just a business's website.
Guy I was just talking about.
In our
4 years not
traditional
working.
work life, we didn't hesitate to
Landed his new
network
job.
with the right people when an opportunity arose. That chance to meet the right people that could help our career. But as a small business owner, sometimes it's all you. It becomes easy for us to prioritize networking away. Oh, not today. Until it's never on today's list. We have so many other hats to wear if we are to reach our dreams. And those other hats are certainly more important. More important. It's important for every small business person to network, to open doors that you may not have even imagined yet. You need to be reaching and communicating with current and potentially new customers or clients. You need to be out there contributing to the discussion about you. And with focus, it takes much less time than you really think to be effective. But you do have to take control. You have to develop your LinkedIn profile into a 3-dimensional sales brochure, all about you, that naturally drives the reader to a singular conclusion. If I work with, hire, or buy from this person, it's the best business decision I'll make today. Then make use of social media marketing tools built into LinkedIn to be sowing your value across the network in updates and postings and other shares that influence the perception of you. Well, there's much more to share as we're just getting started. Now imagine that you have this great communication platform. By the way, that's your great LinkedIn profile that positions both you and your business professionally and effectively. And think about the effects of using and implementing a sharing on a schedule or editorial calendar to simplify your messaging. That's a powerful voice to be heard that affects perception. What would you want others to be thinking of when they are thinking of you? That's the important question.
Don't let someone else think for you. Think for yourself.
You know, that I love that quote. I start my LinkedIn lectures with that quote. Mm-hmm. I'm lucky enough to live at Grand Street in FDR, and that means I get into Chinatown very early in the morning sometimes. And if you're lucky enough to be in Chinatown at 8 o'clock in the morning, my gosh, can you see some amazing things?
Welcome, everybody.
I'm walking down the street, and I suddenly see this entire hog walking down the street on this guy's shoulder. and you know, I don't know if I've actually seen a whole hog in person. You know, wasn't really on a farm like that. And when you see it in life, it's like, my gosh, that's huge. First thing I thought is, why isn't this gentleman tipping over? Because it's quite heavy, but he's pretty strong. But then after the hog caught my attention, that was on his T-shirt. Don't let somebody else think for yourself.
Wow, you got to be kidding me.
we are on autopilot in life, really taking whatever is metered out or handed to us, versus let's take control and let's leverage what's in our hand and let's go get what we dream about, which is certainly possible, but not if you don't get out of the back seat and let's get behind the wheel. Put the smartphone down and let's put our eyes on the road and get to that destination. Simply takes a little clear focus and a little determination.
What does your ultimate client look like?
My ultimate client is one that eventually never calls me back because they've gone on to do something pretty amazing. You know, when I work with clients, there's some that I work with a short time, there's some that I work with a little bit longer time. But really, it's about enabling them and empowering them to take the control for themselves, not simply to make them needy or dependent, but independent and in charge. So my ultimate client is a person that maybe is a little afraid to do it, but with a little encouragement and a little bit of backbone, they desire to do it and they really want to unlock their future. That individual really has very few limits. And with a little bit of support from someone like myself, my gosh, they can have a very, very different outcome.
Okay, so we're going to take a little break, and come back and do the second half of the show. And I just put in LinkedIn, but it didn't come up. So let me try it again. There we go. Let's see what happens here. And what I would like to do, okay, there it is. There's the page. Connect, share ideas, and discover opportunities. Get started. It's free. Registration takes less than 2 minutes. So we're going to come back and sort of take a look at LinkedIn, look at the website, and see if we can come up with any ideas or someone. Because a lot of people are not on LinkedIn. Matter of fact, could you believe that there's people that don't even know about LinkedIn?
Well, it's hard to believe that folks don't know about it, but I agree with you. There's a lot of folks that aren't on it. And a lot of folks that arrive to LinkedIn because someone has said, oh my gosh, got to be on LinkedIn. Then they sign up and they get there and they're like standing under a light going,
yeah,
what now? There's nothing happening.
Yeah.
It's just mostly because they don't understand how to use it or leverage
They're
it.
used to those other social medias. They don't know how to leverage it. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to get into this LinkedIn thing.
Fantastic.
And there's a page, linkedin.com. All right.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Welcome to WHCR's Community Calendar, keeping you abreast of events in Harlem and throughout the tri-state area. The following events will take place from Friday, March 20th through Friday, March 27th, 2015. On Saturday, March 21st at 12 p.m. at the American Museum of Natural History is the NASA Sun-Earth Day. Join them as they explore the special relationship between Earth and the Sun and learn about the delicate balance that makes our planet the perfect place to call home. Talk to scientists, look through telescopes, and engage in hands-on activities at this family-friendly event. This event is free, and for more information, call 212-769-5100. On Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. at the African Burial Ground National Monument is a dramatic performance of Branch Street's Productions' Flight, a funny and poignant journey through the millennial black female experience. 3 glamorous flight attendants will guide the audience through a series of stories that highlight a conflicted reconciliation between cultural past and modern identity. For more information on this free event, visit nps.gov/AFBG. On Thursday, March 26th from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m., the Harlem Branch Library at 9 West 124th Street will host Behind the Bench, a Women's History Month event presented by the Friends of the Charitable Community Law Library of Harlem. Join WHCR host Aisha Siku to discuss best-selling author Terry Woods and the real truth about publishing and black authors. For more information on this event, call 347-413-2774. On Friday, March 27th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Riverside Church is a film showing of Let the Fire Burn, a widely acclaimed film about the May 13th, 1985 bombing of MOVE in Philadelphia. The event will include tributes and performances, and you can learn about how MOVE has maintained a spirit of love and resistance. For more information, call 212-330-8029. If you have an event that you would like to place on our calendar, please call 212-650-7481 or email communitycalendar@whcr.org. Submissions must be made 3 to 4 weeks prior to the event. This is Huma Saida for WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
Hey, this is Donna, and I want to personally invite you to my restaurant, Home Sweet Harlem. Home Sweet Harlem is a lovely American bistro located at 1528 Amsterdam Avenue.
Hello, and welcome to today's lottery drawing. Good luck.
90.3
And
FM,
here's
New York.
today's winning numbers. First one up, it's not yours. Second one, not yours. And another number that's not yours. Okay, this is one number that's yours. It's a 5, but you don't get any money for that. And the final number is not yours.
Yep, so chances are you're not going to hit the lottery anytime soon. Don't get us wrong, the lottery can be fun every now and then. Just please don't rely on it for your future savings. How about this? Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte every day. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering in. Ride your bike instead of buying all that gas. These changes alone can save you thousands a year. Thousands. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feed that piggy bank. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
CNN.com recently named New York City as the most stressful city in the United States because of the high cost of living, long commutes, and overcrowded conditions. Some New Yorkers combat stress with exercise and fun activities in Central Park. But if stress has become too overwhelming for you to cope with, there is help. Harlem Hospital has an outpatient clinic that can help you deal with stress, alcoholism, anger management, and substance abuse. Seminars and workshops are held at Harlem Hospital on West 137th Street between Lenox and Fifth Avenues on the 4th floor. Workshops are held Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon. Call 212-939-3210 for more information.
You're listening to WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rick Young, another segment of What's in Your Hand here at WHCR. I'm having a great time. I am learning so much. And my guest is John Krant, author of Self-Recruiter, Changing the Rules, How to Be Your Own Recruiter and Ride the Economic Crisis to Your Next Career Challenge. And let me have your website again, John.
It's selfrecruiter.com.
Say that one more time.
Selfrecruiter.com.
Would you spell that out for me? Would you mind spelling
sure.
it out?
You're going to test me. SELFRECRUITER.com. Selfrecruiter.com.
Pretty cool, pretty cool. Do you like music?
I love music.
This is a song. I'm not going to play the whole song. I just love the beginning, how the song starts out. And I like the little message. And it was a great movie. John, what's his name? Dave LaChapelle did a movie. And it's very, very interesting. But this very interesting. It was these kids in Los Angeles. And instead of getting involved in gangs, they didn't want to get in the gangs. So what they did, they danced. But the dancing that they did was it was aggressive. It was almost like fighting almost.
Fight dancing.
They called it crumping. I really enjoyed that movie. And I love to listen to great audio.
If you're drowning and there's nothing around for help but a board floating, you're going to reach out for that board. And this was our board.
Look, what you know about me? No,
they were fighting. They were dancing. It was like really aggressive.
Thought he would survive, but they let you know he died. Now eternally you crying side caskets don't drop. How you feel about the police drawing down on you with the 4-pound thunder? Was about 13.
Well, I do that too. But in a good way though, in the rain.
While the mama's still stuck in the hood. Every time the people see you, they think you doing good. How you feel about a savage with a gangster for a daddy, but a pimp for a brother, still a hustler for a mammy?
So when you hear that term, what's in your hand, what becomes present for you?
We all have gifts. Sometimes we can't see our gifts because of things that have happened to us in life or, different people that have held us back, those kinds of things. And, that eats away at our confidence. We have to own whoever it is that we are, whatever it is we bring to the table. As soon as you own it and understand what are those gifts that I've been given, how can I use those gifts, you change. To me, it's about looking internally and really discovering what you have to offer, not only to some employer, but also how about to the world, to society, to your fellow man.
All right. Now, LinkedIn, which is spelled LinkedIn, LinkedIn. So someone comes to the page and they see these pictures of these. Oh, those are some really nice pictures.
They pick some really great pictures to lure you in.
Yeah. So they ask for your first name, last name, email address, and a password, and you go from there.
Yeah, basic sign up like most websites. And, you know, the thing is, this is, you know, you can always choose to pay and get a subscription if you want. I only use the free version. This is a free tool that really everybody should be using because it has such a dramatic effect.
Now, who is that person that should go to the next level and get a premium subscription to LinkedIn?
Maybe myself. You know, I'm tempted quite often. You know, the premium subscription, what you get from it, besides a couple tools for your profile that look a little nicer, but what you really get from it is better access to information. You know, information is the new currency. The more information that you have access, the more likely you are to be able to leverage it to your benefit. So if you have a premium account, instead of just seeing the last 5 people that have looked at you and how they found you and what they might have been interested in, well, you can see the whole list. You can go back and see everything that's going on related to your shares, related to people that look at you. That's information you can act upon.
Okay. Now I see that there are 5 John Krantz.
Only one of them is me. I promise. It's that first one up top.
Right.
You know, we have a small family from a family name perspective. I think there's probably 200-300 Krantz across North America, and really somehow we're all related. There's one other one that I do know who's my cousin, lives out in New Mexico. The rest are all kind of the extended, different generation of a family tier, 1 or 2 legs back, and they're mostly up in Canada because even my dad came from Nova Scotia.
Okay. All right. Now I see there's one Cran here, who's the director of sales, marketing, and customer services.
Oh yeah, he works in mobile, right?
Yeah. So do you know him?
I don't know him, but of course I know of him because we're battling on names. But of course it's all friendly because we're all in the same group.
Have you reached out to him?
I haven't reached out to him. I have reached out to another John Krantz. This one, that one you pulled up.
Yeah, and he's a speaker.
He's
doing a presentation.
Does some presentations, and he also does some interesting stuff. And occasionally gets to New York. So I've said, my gosh, we have the same name. When you get here, we should, meet up and have a coffee, something fun, compare some notes.
So now we're going to take a look at your profile. Very, very, very good. John Krantz. So they would go to LinkedIn, and then they would click on John Krantz. And I see that you have 500 plus connections. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, a lot of people don't really understand this whole connections thing and this label of like 67 connections, 80 connections, 120 connections until you hit 501. The moment you hit 501, you're then switched to 500 plus. Now, actually, I have about 4,500 connections. At some point, I started with 6, so that's not really the number to get too wound up over. But once you hit 501, you suddenly become this 500 plus. That's an indicator for me that you are a mover and shaker in your field. It doesn't really matter what you do. You could be an administrative professional. You could be a CEO. But if you are on the top of your game in what you do, it's expected you must be at 500 plus.
Okay.
It's a perception management tool again. I was just telling the Department of Labor folks when I was speaking to them yesterday, even if that was the first day they were going to sign up for LinkedIn, they could be at 500 plus by next week if they would simply invite the people that will accept them. And you can go search for those people. So understanding this is a perception management tool, your first goal is to get your network up to 501 and then add more and more and more of all the right types of target individuals for your industry and companies and everything else.
But they don't approve of you reaching out to people that you don't know. Is that...
Well, that is the message that LinkedIn sends. You shouldn't connect with people you don't know. And I can understand why they might say that because they're, like everybody, they have a business model that they have in mind and they'd like to protect. And, that means revenue stream. And we do want them to have a good revenue stream because they're a fantastic resource. Okay. But I'm a believer in really my ability to connect with my fellow man, no matter where they are, no matter who they are, and no matter whether I know them beforehand. So I do believe in reaching out to these folks that will accept you. And those folks put keywords right in their profile so you can find them right away. Let me give you a little motivational example here. When I build out someone's profile, and really they've never had a profile before, it's their first profile, it's not hard to figure out who the first connection is. Gosh, it's me, right? While I'm building the profile, I just add myself as the connection. With one single connection, that's me, they have 495,000 people in their searchable network.
Break that down.
Let me tell you how that works. When you connect, say, well, Rick, you and I are connected. So you're my connection. And regardless of what your settings are, every one of your connections are also in my pool. There's this concept of you're my connection, but there's also the pool. So Rick, you're my connection and you're in the pool, but all of your connections are also in John's pool, even though they're not John's connections. And better than that, all of your connections are also in John's pool, regardless of their settings. So it's a 3-tiered network. You heard me say I had 4,500 connections. Yes, that's a big number, but that's not the exciting number. The exciting number is my pool is 19.1 million people. I can see every stitch of information on 19 million people. Imagine I can see any decision maker at any company I ever want to approach. I can, if I really think a little bit like a Sherlock Holmes, if I have an interview next week, my gosh, do you realize I could go in and find everybody that's ever held that job before and read about how do they talk about it? Or if I was really thinking and wanted to change the dynamic, I could go in and search their competitors and find the people doing the same job at the competitor and read about how do they talk about that same job. You combine those two pieces with the fact that you think you're right for the job, you would walk in that door transformed in your ability to hold the conversation. And they would simply go, oh my gosh, this person just gets it because I did my homework. But most people don't do their homework.
Now, how would this be an advantage to me if I'm looking for incredible... See, one of the things about this show, What's in Your Hand, is I want to bring the most incredible guests walking on the planet. I mean, that's the goal.
Could I tell you you've inspired me? Let me tell you how.
Okay.
And your group, you have a group.
Right.
The Motivational Speaking Network.
Right.
I have a group, the Self-Recruiter Group. Groups are fantastic, by the way. Anybody can start a group. There's no cost involved. Can you believe that? There's no cost involved. And really what you're building is a cultivated audience. Now, you've inspired me because, of course, I joined that group. I'm a motivational speaker, and when I'm working on my profile, it's like, oh, let's join all the right groups. And
right.
If I'm going to be found, I should be in that group. And guess what? I was found in that group by you. But it's the process. You put that group together because you love to meet some of the best motivational speakers. And yet you didn't really put the group together saying, hey, I'm on the radio, join my group. You just got the right people to join organically. I've challenged my job search audiences to follow your path. And I said, I would love to see someone employ this technique for their career, to begin to develop their own specialized group that would draw just the right people at all the right levels that could help them throughout their career. Imagine if you control that group for your career. Put a little thought to it. That's not that difficult to do. You've already done it for your radio show.
And, I kind of did it, just kind of, it wasn't like just...
Let's try this, and my gosh, did it work?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, absolutely. It would be great to have a motivational speaking network group because I had one on Meetup at one time. So why not LinkedIn?
Sure.
And I've gotten some pretty good guests from that group.
I might even say to you, why not on Facebook? Because Facebook started groups as well. A little while back, they used to be pages and some other things, but now they've converted it over to groups because everyone's kind of following the same pathway. So LinkedIn has groups now. Facebook has groups. You could even form a group over there. Lots of good stuff you can do.
Okay. Wow, this is pretty good. And it shows me my recent activity.
This is really, imagine you get behind the wheel and you've got a car that gives you all the pressure gauges. Some of those cars that tells you the oil pressure, tells you this temperature, tells you that temperature. Some of them just have little, we call them idiot lights, just the light that comes on. But other ones, really, they give you the detail. Well, that's what LinkedIn does today, is you get a dashboard essentially with your detail. Who are you reaching? How are you reaching them? Are your social media shares causing people to look at you. This is all information that's right on your dashboard so you can manage your activity, increase your effectiveness, and reduce the amount of time you're spending doing it.
And my photograph
Sure.
is there with me in the studio.
Absolutely.
So I'm letting them know this is what I'm about.
You know, photograph is so interesting. It always comes up at my lectures. People, they're on edge and they're afraid to ask the question. So I usually just ask the question for them, and I'll say, photograph? Yes. And then I'll say, I know every issue attached to photographs. And you know what? If someone doesn't want to hire me based on one of those issues, my first reaction is too bad, so sad for them. They're going to really miss out on a dynamo. And my second reaction is, they don't even deserve my talents. So this was the right thing to come along. That's not a fight that I can win here, but what I can win here from the right picture are the two reasons people do hire us, or if we're in our own business, the two reasons people will engage us in that business. And that is chemistry, number one, above all other things, which you can be building right from the photograph, and confidence, number two. These are the two reasons you get hired, assuming you're capable for the job. Chemistry and confidence. And that's before credentialing, that's before who you've worked for. So your picture's very important. Pick that picture that has energy, enthusiasm, drive, passion above everything else, presence. We're on the radio. That typically requires a little bit of presence to be a radio show host. You got great presence. Well, everybody's got to take this presence out to the real world, even if it's a space they weren't comfortable with. You're kind of a public figure. So you've had to become comfortable with it. I don't know if you were comfortable with it at first. Well, as an individual,
oh, absolutely.
I guess you probably were, but we have to become comfortable with a public version of us.
Well, I need you to get comfortable. Speak for a few minutes because I'm going to hit some different positions, taking your picture.
Fantastic.
While we're in the studio, so just keep talking.
As one of the things that I wanted to share with you, this was I have to look back. I think it was June before last, but I did a 4-week series at the County Cullen Library here in Harlem. And, the library, not only do I speak at the Science, Industry, and Business Library, but oftentimes they have me out in the branches, which is fantastic to really get out in the community. And so we put together this 4-week series where each week, every Wednesday evening, I'd cover a different topic. It could be resume or LinkedIn or interviewing or really the job search plan. And so as the audience kept building, because, of course, they would bring their friends back and their friends back, it's so fulfilling. That was in June. And then in September, I get this email. And this guy goes, I don't know if you remember me. I was in your 4-week series in June. And he goes on to remind me. He says, well, you might remember me because I followed you onto the train afterward. I said, well, that happens actually quite a bit for my lectures. So that in itself doesn't tell me who you are. But then he said, well, I'm the veteran. And I've got a music degree, and I really want to work in IT. And of course, the bells went off in my head. That's a very unique, precise background. And I said, oh, I remember that background. And although I don't remember him individually, I do remember giving him a lot of really great advice, how you kind of package this bouquet of flowers that doesn't seem to go together. The veteran, the music degree, the IT desires. And his other piece is he's been long-term 10 years unemployed. He's had a couple small jobs, but really some family issues, but long-term unemployed 10 years. And he's writing to me in September, just a few months after June, saying, well, I was long-term unemployed 10 years. I'm writing to tell you I've got my new job. And what did it for him was he built out a LinkedIn profile. Didn't ever hear of LinkedIn, wasn't on it. He showcased all the right things and used some of the ideas that I gave him to kind of better package his background for the resume. And then a company called him that he never applied to. There's a lot of direct recruiting happening now because companies don't want 2,000 or 3,000 resumes. So nobody can look at them. So they simply go cherry pick. And so he got invited in for interview. He said, oh my gosh, it was really awkward. I wasn't qualified. And they said, well, you're not qualified. And then they said, but we'll hold your resume in case something lower opens up. Oh my gosh, right? A stab to the heart, right? But my gosh, did he hear what I had to say in my interview intervention lecture and took it to heart. It's not over till you know who is singing, and I don't hear nobody singing. So he went home from that very disappointing message to sit down and write that thank you note. Thank you for not hiring me? Well, I mean, don't use those words. But yeah, just dear Jack, dear Jim, dear Jill, I just want to say thank you so much for the time to meet with you and the great discussion and the insights. I've remained very, very interested, blah, blah, blah. This is how you keep the door open. No, they took about a week to respond, but they responded to him and they said, actually, we meant it. We really like you. Just sit tight. We're working on constructing a job for you. And they did. 10 years not working, back to work in 3.5 months. There are solutions to all of these problems that even seem just completely insurmountable. But you have to take off whatever is blocking our view, and we have to see clearly, and you have to get a little fired up.
I see here someone wrote, you don't build a business, you build people, and then people build the business.
Very, very true. A lot of businesses, they look at their, especially with the economic crisis over the last few years, we've had a lot of businesses maybe abusing their workers, squeezing every last thing they could possibly get out of the workers, breaking their workers down, not building them up. There's never a positive outcome to that. And maybe a short-term financial gain. If you really want to grow anything, it's about all the elements involved. And if you've got a business, it's about all the people involved. As you make each one of those folks a champion for your cause, for your business, you're exponentially changing from not just you caring about your business, but every member of your business caring about your business. Motivate your team.
Yeah. Now, I'm finding that there's a lot of businesses that have not mastered the service and like really knowing how to take care of people. How does that come into play in everything that we're talking about?
The service angle of any business. Why do businesses exist? Well, businesses exist because somebody, maybe us, we'd like to get ahead. We'd like to maybe get more than just working for somebody else, and we start a business. So essentially, yes, does come from a place of revenue, but that's a revenue that can help grow families and help grow communities and everything else. So there's nothing negative or wrong about desiring revenue. But my gosh, you've got to, if you approach your business doing it the right way, maybe the revenue starts a little bit slower, a little bit more steady. It's kind of like the tortoise and the hare in a race. Well, oh my gosh, that hare, that bunny rabbit is off like a jackrabbit.
What do you think of the business model of Whole Foods?
I'm a little clouded on Whole Foods because of, their CEO voicing opposition to health care, which I think needs to become a right for every American. I think I'm a fan of single payer, which we do not have yet, but I'm hopeful for the future. Even FDR back in the 40s, his intention right after Social Security and Medicare was universal health care, but it didn't make it through back in the 40s. Otherwise, we might have had it. But I like at least some of their business model of, obviously, let's whatever it is that we do, let's try to do it the best way. So I like the freshness, I like some of the quality, I like some of those elements. Maybe there's a few things I don't like in what they do that also affect society.
Okay. Now, you said that you are a fan of Apple. Why are you a fan of Apple, and what is it about Apple? And then also we're going to talk about Steve Jobs.
I have to confess, I never touched a computer, never touched one before 1994. And you can imagine, at that point, touching a computer, it's this wall of you can never climb this mountain. And you can climb the mountain. You just have to be brave enough to take the first step, and then the second step, and then the third step. But as I get into everything, of course, business life, you're working on PCs more, but then I got into developing my technical side and became manager of a service bureau, and this is a technical department that might service the printing industry, those kinds of things. And boy, the tech skills skyrocket. But when you're exposed to all sorts of tech, you like perfection. Now, Apple gets a lot wrong. When you strive for something amazing, you're going to fall on your face. You're going to get a lot wrong. If you just strive for the middle, well, you get a lot of average. And so to me, the reason I like Apple is because there's this drive toward absolute perfection. And no, you're not going to rush me to perfection. A lot of people get upset because they expect a certain product to be out. Why wasn't this out 2 years ago? Because it wasn't perfect 2 years ago. Could have been rudimentary 2 years ago. Apple cares about your experience. I'd like to find one other company that in their heart actually cares and takes ownership of your experience. Not just simply, oh, here's something and it's up to you how you experience it. They think about all those details. I think in our business, we have to think of all those details. That will be something that will start a brush fire of activity for our business. And a lot of good things can come.
And what's your feedback or opinion on Steve Jobs? What did you think of Steve?
Well, read Isaacson's book. I can't wait to see this new book, Becoming Steve Jobs, which is actually, I think it's being showcased down at the Apple Store. The authors are going to be down in Soho, if they haven't been already. But, hey, Steve's a human being, like any other human being. You know what that means? We're all defective in some way. We're all flawed. That's part of the human condition, to strive to be better than maybe the where we came from, whoever we are at one stage. And I think, Steve may get a lot of rap over being demanding and maniacal and all these other things, but it's about passion. And if you apply your passion toward the right direction, some amazing things happen. And that means you have to think differently, just the way they do.
So speaking of passion and making amazing things happen, what would you like to do that would be truly, that's maybe on your radar, maybe a little bit past your radar? Like, what would you like to see amazing happen in your work?
Well, gosh, I have a bucket list. Love to be at South by Southwest and up speaking with crowds. Love to do a TED Talk, all those kinds of things. I think those are on my radar in the future. But, I think the truly exciting thing probably hasn't crossed the threshold of my mind yet. This is a journey that, to me, it's kind of silly to put an end date on you. I feel about 35. I'm 52. Hopefully I look closer to the 35 than the 52. My dad passed away at 91. And he was still living on his own, still driving. Well, he's a Catholic deacon, so he was still doing hospital run, visiting sick people. Well, gosh, Dad, he got double pneumonia probably from visiting sick folks. But if I were to tell him not to minister, I might as well tell him not to breathe. You have to sit and do whatever drives you and live every single moment. My gosh, I have a lot of years left. So I think there's some amazing things. My next iteration, which will launch just a little bit later this year, is to launch all of my tools for individuals to be up online on the website, so that I have so many folks that come to my lecture and they go, oh gosh, I wish my brother or sister over in Indiana, Ohio could see this. Well, of course, I'd like to help people, but that's also a business opportunity. And so to me, it's about reaching more and more people. A little bit of advice, honestly, at the right platform level, can change millions of people's lives. Now, that would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today.
That's what we're doing today. We're reaching so many folks that can change their destiny today. Take control today. Take that first step today. And if they need some motivation, gosh, I'm at the public library with 2 lectures next week.
Right, but we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But you also said you did something at Compton County Library.
Yeah, that was a great 4-week series, and we try to put those together, a few times over the year at different locations. But it gives the community, whichever community we go into, this opportunity to really have access to the information. It's access to information that is the democratization piece, and that's what the library brings. And so to be able to do that, say, at the County Cullen Library, and to do 4 different topics a week apart from one another, essentially it's a master class in job search and each element of job search. How to improve the resume, how to improve the LinkedIn profile, how you change the interview process. You know what happens in the interview process is most people walk in there, they sit down, they feel like they're under a bright light, and then they're ready to be interrogated. Oh my gosh.
I'd love for you to do a workshop here at City College.
Oh, I'd love to do it. You need to walk into the interview and teach them how to select you as the very best individual for that role.
Wow. Break that down.
You would have had to put an agenda together. You would have had to think about it, You would have had to put yourself in the decision maker's chair. What would I, if I was the boss, what would I need to hear that would almost literally make me jump out of the chair and hire this person? And then you have to construct that agenda for what you intend to communicate during your interview and have those bullet points with you. And yes, let them control the interview. I like you to be in control, but it's more this idea of puppet master control. Oh, do the right things, pull the strings, make what you'd like happen, but yes, let them feel in control. That's a comforting thing to them. But I want you to control. I want you to go after. I want you to teach them how to hire you. That's what you do in an interview.
And I noticed that you spoke about earlier about doing the research, doing the research for the companies that you want to work with.
Sure.
Because the more you know about the company, that's more to your advantage.
Well, you know, the least interesting thing is someone that says, I'm looking for a job. Come on, get in line. Oh, sad stories everywhere. It's like, that's not interesting. You know what is interesting? Companies, people, we tend to be the same. You know, one of the human traits, which can be a negative trait sometimes, can also help motivate us sometimes, is narcissism. You know, we're all narcissists to some degree. You know, we're all, focused on our story. But so are companies. And if you understand that, then what a company's looking to hear is they don't just want people that need a job. They want people that just have to work for that company. I have to work for you. Here is why. Here's why I'm so excited. That's compelling.
I've had people come to me and says, I want to be on your show. Put me on your radio show. Okay.
What are you going to do for me when I put you there?
Yeah, so, but if you came to me and says, hey, Rick, you know, I've been listening to your show. It was very interesting. I really enjoyed when you had the gentleman John Crant on. And I had a young man on last week that was incredible, 24 years old. John Henry, he's got an incredible story. I really loved his story of how he started a business. He worked hard at that business. And I'm just giving you a brief description of it. And then he eventually sold the business. And a young guy, 24 years old. And he talked about all the hard work that he did. And he talked about, he opened my eyes to something. I'm always friendly with different people, you know, working in different areas like doormen and stuff like that. But he made me look at doormen on a whole different level. Because he was a doorman, so when he was launching his business, he went to the doorman. He said, because doormen know everything.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I never looked at it like that. If I'm going to be friendly with someone, I would just do it because, hey, they're nice, seem to be a nice person. But
you know, that makes me think of something. You know, I often talk about, you know, who should you connect to? And then, you know, and you've already heard me tell you that I think you need to get to 501, so let's connect to a lot of people to get to 501, but then let's connect to more and more of the right people that can help us. And a lot of times I'll say, well, if you had a chance to meet a CEO, would that be a good connection? And almost universally, of course, people go, oh yeah, that'd be a good connection. I did have one person go, well, depends what industry. I'm like, really? A CEO, it depends what industry. If you impress that CEO, they could pick up the phone and call their friend in another industry and change your life tomorrow. Connect with the CEO. But then I'll go on to the other extreme and I'll say, well, let's give some perspective. What if the person you met cleans the CEO's office? Do you connect with that person? And usually the audience will get a little still because they're like, oh, I don't want to tip my hand here. It seems like a trick question. Yeah, it is a little bit of a trick question. And before I give them the answer, I'll ask a follow-up question which really brings it into clarity. You know, I don't know whether this person would have the LinkedIn account, but if they did, would they be likely connected to anybody else in that company? Well, of course. They work there. It's never actually about the connection. It's about that 2 or 3 layers of network behind it. My gosh, if you connect with that person and then you search this company again, information, you can see probably 10 times deeper into the company. So we need to take this control back, and we need to break down these barriers. We have to begin to open doors and leave them all open so that everything can flow in all directions. And that means value can flow to us, and our value can flow to other people.
Tell me about the workshops you got coming up.
Well, you know, on Tuesday at noon at the Science, Industry, and Business Library, that's the 34th Street Madison Library, by the way, there's no sign-up, first come, first seat. That is my resume renovation lecture. That is all the secrets that a recruiter uses to really make their candidate be the standout. But how you use that and do it on your resume has one job. That is to get you the interview. If it's not producing the interview, my gosh, let's change it. Now, Wednesday, 6 p.m., that's a different lecture. That is my Organizing and Managing Your Job Search lecture. Same location, 34th Street, Madison, Science Industry Business Library. And that really covers the 15 different pathways that truly constitute a job search. You know, to me, Rick, the tragedy today is all these people I meet that are so frustrated, months and months and months, and sometimes years into their job search. I'll say, well, what are you doing for your job search? Well, I'm, looking and responding to job postings. That's your job search? The tragedy, and I learned this as VP over the 100-office recruiting chain because I did all the national contracts. The tragedy is half of those job postings, 50% that you see, are not real. And that happens because of the way they're purchased. You know, you come up with the number of postings you might use within a year. We had 100 offices, so obviously that's a big number. You go to your sales rep, you cut a deal, you sign that contract. Those are use them or lose them in 12 months. The moment they sign the contract, those postings essentially have no value. They had no idea 6 months or even up to a year ago what they'd be hiring today, and yet they have to use those spots. So they tend to start posting stuff they may hire for someday. The tragedy is you don't even know which half of the postings aren't the real ones.
Is it possible to go to a company and create your own job?
Very much so. I'm a big fan of that. In fact, I usually tell people, you might look at job postings, say, for indicators. Job posting itself, to me, doesn't tell you that there's actually an opening, even if it seems like it. But it's an indicator of what they could hire. Why don't we simply pick the companies we'd like to hire, whether we see an open job or not? And then we go and we introduce ourselves, get a meeting, which is not really as difficult as it sounds, and we persuade them and talk to them about what we could do for their team. We inspire them and motivate them to make change in their own staff or to create a space for us.
Now, I'm connected to John Whcr. You know who John Whcr is? John Whcr is the CEO of LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a valuable contact?
His profile is probably one of those that's a little more professionally curated at his level. Maybe he's really involved in it. I'm not really sure. I haven't met him one-on-one, although I may, because I may have an event coming up in June with LinkedIn being involved. So I'll keep you posted.
You've been an advocate. You've been a LinkedIn advocate.
Oh my gosh, I'm a big believer in their system. They're a fantastic company and they offer so much. But someone like that, he's very high profile. What you can do mostly is really learn from him. These folks that we might follow aspirationally. Oh my gosh, you can learn just as much from them as anyone that might actually interact with you.
Wow, this LinkedIn is really, I need to really look at it from a different viewpoint because I think it's very valuable, like you're saying.
If we think of our career story, well, usually that exists on the resume, but in most people's resumes, it's a very uninteresting or I guess if I were to phrase it this way, and it's an unsexy story, the way most people tell it, because most people are not good at narrative or storytelling. The word storytelling can have some problems because sometimes we think of that as misrepresenting. Of course, that's not what I mean. I mean properly and really presenting your story. My idea for the right LinkedIn profile is really the polar opposite to a resume. In my view, a resume has to be a single sheet of paper, really no matter what the background.
Okay.
But the polar opposite to that is this idea of creating a three-dimensional sales brochure all about you that naturally drives the reader to one singular conclusion. Oh my gosh, if I work with this person, if I hire this person, best business decision I'm going to make today. You don't literally say that about yourself, but whatever you do say about yourself has to drive them to that conclusion. That's how you always make the short list. You always get the interview. And you knock your competitor right off the pedestal.
Is it important to endorse someone that's on LinkedIn? Is that important?
Endorsements are very important. I think there's really two types of endorsement. There's keyword endorsement, which I think they introduced the keyword endorsement for several purposes, but mostly because it's much easier for folks to become involved. There's less of a threshold of how much time does it take, how much commitment, do I have to write something? So getting votes on those keywords can be very important because all your keyword skills that are core to you, it's just like kind of your networking number, the 500 plus. Well, if you can get your votes of people saying, oh, yeah, Rick has that skill. Oh, Rick's great at that. If you can get 100 votes, suddenly you're labeled 99 plus on that skill. And you're looked at as rock solid on that skill. So that's another way to influence folks with the keyword endorsement piece. But then we also need some written endorsements. Perfect world, I usually say, 4, 5, 6 would be great. I think I have about 52, 53 written endorsements on my profile. It should take a long time to get that. If you look closely, you're suddenly going to begin to question my attention to detail. You're going to see spelling errors all over the place. You're going to see grammar all over the place. Oh my gosh, didn't John see this? Didn't John ask for correction? Are you kidding me? I would never dream of asking for a correction. That's why they work. When you read these things, the hair on the back of your neck will stand up. Because if you let someone speak in their own voice, it is powerful. If you edit them down to generic, it's not interesting. So, yeah, go out and get some great written endorsements. Go after and get people to talk about you. We fall in this ridiculous trap of thinking, I have to get one from my boss. Oh, yeah, it'd be great to get one from your boss, but do you realize you can get one from your coworkers as well? They can talk about your work product, what you contribute. You realize you can get one from vendors you may interact with? You could get one from clients you could interact with? There's all sorts of people, maybe even managers in other departments that you interact with. There's all sorts of people that could give you a recommendation, not just these 1 or 2 bosses that we think about. Control your story. Build your story. A little bit of the, if you build it, will they come? They will. This is how you can get discovered.
Now, tell me about your, I know you just told us about it, but what you're going to do in the library, the workshop in the library. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The resume lecture is really interesting. Well, they're all interesting, but the resume especially, because what I teach comes directly out of my time on a desk as a recruiter. When I first was a recruiter, I quit my job to get the recruiting job. I had someone about 10 years younger than me that had just gotten into recruiting, and I watched them work, and halfway through the year, I'm like, you're a pretty sharp guy. I don't know what's going on over there, but you need to go get a real job. And then by the end of the year, they were making more money than I was. And I had 43 employees, round-the-clock nightmare I was managing. And this individual that's 10 years younger than me is making more money than I was. And so that motivated me to turn around and turn in my notice. Now, I do have a very high risk tolerance because of growing up in family businesses. So I'm like, well, my gosh, he's a sharp guy, but he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. If he can do this, I can do this. And I turned around, quit my job, and then I started to go interview. And I said, well, my gosh, let's go out here and start my new journey. Well, that's your first step. You've got to get motivated. You've got to take control. You've got to get yourself out there. And, I try to teach people what to do. Well, so I get my first couple chances as a recruiter, and my people, which were really superstars, I did it the right way. I got the right ones, but they were getting rejected because of this silly piece of paper. The resume was somehow overruling my opinion. They hired me for my opinion. I'm like, my gosh, this paper's overruling my opinion? Well, after that happened once or twice at the very beginning of recruiting, I then began to redevelop every single person's resume that I was going to work with directly so that it properly really presented the story that I had uncovered about them, because people are terrible at telling their own story. So that's what I teach in my resume lecture on Tuesday, how you discover your story, how you retell it in a way that's truthful, absolutely letter true. There's nothing here that's not true, but it's 10 times, 100 times more compelling. I have this little test that I do, and it's called the 3-second test. And I'll say, oh, pull out your resume. And it's just for you. No worries. No one's going to look over your shoulder. I said, okay, you're going to look at yourself as if you don't know yourself when I tell you. And then when I'm done counting off time, I'll tell you when to stop. And when I say stop, tell yourself, how much do you know about this person? Now, I give them the benefit of the doubt. I give them the full 5 seconds. 1001, 1002. You get the idea. And I'll say stop. And people will look up like deer in the headlights. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you anything about this person, and it's me. That resume does not work. We live in a world where, tragically, no one wants to read. I have so many bites on my tongue from saying that at the library, and I have to bite myself every time. Well, that's a tragedy and portends terrible things for our future in the decades to come. But where's the silver lining? There's a silver lining no matter how tragic. The silver lining is that if you understand no one wants to read, my gosh, you will change how you present things. I teach folks how to build a resume without a single sentence on the entire resume. Why would you put a sentence on a resume in a world where no one wants to read? You have to learn to communicate in concepts, which can be 10 times faster. Makes your information jump off the page. You're more compelling than your competitor.
Is there any industries? There it is. Is there any industries that you're thinking about taking on that you haven't pursued as of yet, but you're thinking about pursuing?
Well, really, I work all industries. It's as a recruiter, which now I only teach and I work one-on-one as a coach, but as a recruiter, my gosh, I worked 3 different disciplines: software sales and pre-sales. People that might sell for a company like Oracle. I did hands-on technical people, systems engineers, network managers, that type of person. And then I did art directors, graphic designers, and pre-press folks. Those are the 3 niches that actually worked. As a recruiting trainer, then all the recruiters were in all different fields. They were in banking, they were in legal, you name it. So I've covered everything.
Yeah, because I see, because when you work at the library, you're hitting people from many different industries.
Sure.
When you're at the YMCA, you're hitting people from different industries. Mm-hmm. But what I see were two industries also. There's the universities. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've tapped into that yet.
Well, I was just out at one of the CUNY schools, the Kingsborough College, just the other day.
Oh, there you go. And then there's also, you did the YMCA, but there's also the health club, the fitness industry. Mm-hmm. I think what you do would be so valuable in the fitness industry.
Rick, it takes a lot to make my brain go, how did I miss that? But great idea. I love it. You've got my wheels spinning.
Okay. Well, I know a few health clubs, so maybe I can make a recommendation.
Sounds fantastic.
All right, because again, in health clubs,
it's motivational.
But it's also it's almost like the library. I mean, you can consider the YMCA sort of like a health club, but I'm talking about the health club. You have the Equinoxes and this would be something excellent because they're looking to add value to their customers. Well, bringing you to the health club, would add value to their facility. I think.
No, I think it's a very interesting, very, very interesting approach. I'm going to put some thought to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, we're pretty much almost at the end, and we're having a great time today. What did you learn today, John?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we have to sit and keep our minds open at all times. And that means even to ideas that, if we think we know it all and we haven't even thought of something interesting like, my gosh, this could expand even to, health club membership. People that are going to health clubs are looking to improve themselves. And what I teach is how to improve yourself. Perfect fit. That means we keep our minds open, and always growing.
Yeah. And I need to start looking at other industries that I might want to tap into and be focused, laser focused.
Sure.
WHCR. Hold on one second. Okay, can you repeat that message, please?
All right, this message is directed at this interview. This has been the most interesting, dynamic interview that you have ever done in your 7 going on 8 years of what's in your hand. This is direct energy, which I approve of highly. I've never heard anyone express the natural order of things. People don't like to read. Why would I read something that then would cause me to go into action? All right? What you're actually doing with people is energizing them at the point of reception or at the point of exception. All right? The exception is that I make you think by challenging that thing that you don't like to do. All right? Just by mere interjection of something that will energize a good thought, a good feeling. These things come about only when you know what people actually do.
But question, have you signed up for LinkedIn as of yet?
Yes. But I don't actually deal with it. I've been with LinkedIn almost Oh, I was a long time. All right. Matter of fact, my brother introduced me to it. But I did the MySpace and the Facebook and the Twitter. I mean, you can't do it all. You can't be active, and like you say, you can't build your voice with people if you're jumping around. That's my consensus.
You have to have a little focus.
Yeah, you have to. And as you say, you address people directly. You influence those people. Those people then become kind of like your aides, your little soldiers out in the field. I know this guy, he told me this, he spoke of these things. Myself, and I don't want to brag on myself, but I have been instrumental in influencing young men since I was a young man myself. Now I'm an old man. Do you know what kind of following I could build if I could just tap into that resource?
Do you have a question? Do you have a question for John?
Excuse me?
Do you have a question for John?
Yes, I do. John, where are you again? I'll hang up and listen. Give your email address, give all that data. I know you said you're at the Y, you do the library. You need to put this out in a format, my opinion, John, that will allow people like myself that have been yearning to do the same thing, but just haven't had a formula to act on it.
Well, let me give you the information. There's the website itself is selfrecruiter.com. And, of course, that also has all my dates and presentations. You just click the calendar tab on my website, and you'll have all next week. Now, next week, Tuesday, that's Tuesday at noon, and that's also Wednesday at 6 p.m., 2 different lectures at the New York Public Library at 34th Street in Madison. That's the Science, Industry, and Business Library. And the Tuesday noon lecture is the Resume Renovation Lecture, all those secrets that can really change things. And the Wednesday evening lecture at 6 p.m., that's really understanding what a job search plan truly is and how you take a few steps down each of the pathways to kind of discover your opportunity. I'm excited to hear your comments as well. Thank you for those great things you said.
And I thank you because I'll end with this. I had introduced a young lady to Rick, and they were supposed to make a connection. The long and the short of it is she just got a job in management, all right? She hasn't been trained. She just got the job yesterday, all right? And I said to her, you know what? I can be very instrumental in helping you. All right, they're going to be, the management company does cosmetics, women's cosmetics or something. And all it is that she has to be trained, and then I guess whatever they do with people once they train them. You're working as of the time, like you say, the interview got her in there. And before she went to the interview, I said to her, you have to really understand that, these people see, hundreds, whatever, there's certain numbers. She said the interviewer looked at her right away and said that if I could train you myself, I would train you, but you're hired.
Oh, fantastic.
It's presentation. It's knowing how to go at a thing. It's not just, saying words like you say.
On that presentation note and really going after things, it's our job to make the best persuasive case during the interview. Oh my gosh, I do this little visual thing when I'm giving my live lectures where my feet stay planted, I stay still, and my body starts kind of waving. And I look like I have a big smile on my face, and I'm this pretty little flower. I'm like, you can't do this. You just can't wait to be picked. You have to stand up and say, here's why you should pick me.
You have to sell yourself.
You got to sell.
You have to be able to make people like you by what you're saying, not by who you are, not by what your so-called station in life is.
And you got to get.
What are you saying right now? How can I influence you by what I'm saying right now?
And you got to get every single person you meet. You have to get every vote. I don't care if it's a receptionist. I don't care if it's a CEO.
That's a 24-hour-day job.
And also, one of the most important things is time. Because whatever you're going to do, get to it. Because there's going to come a time when that's it. And so that's where we are right now. We're at the end of the show.
You two guys make a terrific team. Trust me. All right?
All right.
The ebb and flow. This interview flew through. All right? But it flew through in the sense every point that was made was direct information to influence somebody to get up and go and go. It's too late already.
People think they cannot solve it, and that causes immobility. The moment you realize there is some solution, boy, does that light a fire and go, I can get off my behind, and I can change the future.
We're gonna work on getting Brother Smiley. We're gonna work on getting John here at the college. We have to.
Very good.
We have
Very
to.
good. Yes. 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 I mean, like this, now you're talking on a high scale level. These people, listen, you got engineers that are out of work. You have PhDs that have put in all that time. I mean, you're like, all that money, all that investment, they're not working. Why? The so-called the normalcy of the work market is dead. Now it's invention. What better invention than the human mind?
All right. Well, listen, Brother Smiley, thank you for calling in today. And, let's keep in touch.
I'm glad that you took my call.
All right.
I was bursting. All right.
Talk to you soon. Continue success.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What's in your hand?
Absolutely.
All right. Wow, John, we're at the end. We're getting ready for our next radio host. The amazing William Torres is going to be here, and he's got an amazing show. Thank you for being here today, John. You were awesome.
It's so exciting. I think you have an interesting show coming up on Sunday, too, don't you?
Yeah, we have a very special guest coming in. That's a surprise.
A surprise. Oh, I can't wait. I will be tuned in for sure.
And there you go. And it's going to be, the thing that's so good about it is that it's going to be completely different.
I can't wait.
We might tap on some of the same stuff, but it's going to be completely different.
I can't wait.
All right. So.
I'm motivated.
All right. Thank you, John.
Well, thank you, Rick.
And give your website out again.
Selfrecruiter.com.
All right. And this is Rick Young signing off with another segment of What's in Your Hand. And my guest today was John Krant. Very motivational, very inspirational, and looking to do some great things.
Well, thank you, Rick.
Les Brown, you can't do that. You don't have a college education. Les Brown, you can't do that. You don't even know who your parents are. Les Brown, you can't do that. You failed twice in school. Come on. You ever thought about something you wanted to do and you talk yourself out of it? There's a proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm.
The reason why people are depressed is because you cannot get enough of what you don't want, okay? You cannot, it's like if you take a society and you tell them, look, this will make you happy, then no matter how much of it they get, they're not going to be happy because they don't want it.
If you think it's going to be easy, if you think you're just going to get that business started without any trials or tribulations, forget about it. Don't even try to be successful. It's a wrap. It's not going to be easy, but I want you to feel that pain going through your body. And as pain leaves your body, guess what's going to take its place? Success. And so you got to change your mindset, all right? We got to stop looking at pain as if it's something negative, all right? Listen to me. If it was easy, everybody would do it. No pain, no gain. But I guarantee you, if you can outlast pain, if you can get through that pain, if you can get through that discomfort, all right? If you can outlast that discomfort, I guarantee you, baby, on the other side of it is success.
Pain creates the prize.
All roads to success, you got to go through pain. They all success. When you travel down success, you got to go through the road of pain, baby. I told you before, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
And you keep talking about the mistakes. You keep talking about the past. You keep talking about your trials. You keep talking about your situation. And I want you to know that everybody that's ever been great, everybody has had an obstacle to overcome. They've had a barrier that they had to climb. There is no individual who's ever reached success and he didn't have to go through an obstacle or a barrier to get there. Listen to me very closely. Sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes you're going to look all around you and nowhere do you see success. Nowhere do you see anything that remotely looks like success. But you got to embrace the faith. You got to believe that although it's not happening right now, if you keep pressing, if you keep pushing, guess what? One day is going to be your day.
Real happiness in life, in my opinion, comes from being the person that you want to be, all right?
We have, as humans, we have something that no animal has, and what it's called is imagination. And what imagination allows you to do, it allows you to see it before it actually happens.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Pensaba, Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo les va? Buenos días. ¡Qué viernes más lindo! Dicen que hay motivo. Sí, hay motivo, pero mucho motivo para vivir. Para decirle gracias, Señor, por un día más. Gracias por todo lo que me da. Gracias por todas las atenciones que tienen para conmigo. Para ese público tan lindo. Un día más. ...27 de marzo... ...con una temperatura 39... ...de 39... Y las reglas de estacionamiento en vigor. Así que si no quiere un taque, apellido tique, muévelo. Esa es tu alegría del viernes. O alegría del viernes, esa misma. Lo que se inició como al borde de la mañana. Un programa sin desperdicio. Ese era el lema del creador de este programa. Y tratamos de llevarlo tal como lo creó. Simplemente cambio de nombre, pero el mismo contenido. Contenido informativo, educativo y musical ni hablar. William Torres. En batalla pura, hoy viernes 27, con un día totalmente romántico, bien lindo. Ándale, Tuti. Y como te encanta siempre, tu hora típica hasta las 9. ¡Qué rico! Para llamarme, 212-650-6903. Banda libre te da la inicio. Ay, yo, mamá.
Pero bueno, y mi Marlenis, sigue banda libre. Yes, sir, yes. Alberto, Selenia, Yuri, Rebeca. Ay, caramba, trabajo y trabajo y no tengo nada. Trabajo y trabajo y no tengo nada, porque todo lo invierto en mi propiedad, porque todo lo invierto en mi propiedad, en mi propiedad, porque todo lo invierto. Vaya Alberto. Pero bueno, Alexandra, gozando. Tío. Y el Bobby. Se gobiernan ya, todas las mujeres se gobiernan ya, porque todas nacen con su propiedad, porque todas nacen con su propiedad, con su propiedad, porque todas nacen. Tremenda tierra. Riculí, gozando, DJ Pachanga. Con su propiedad de café y cacao, con su propiedad de café y cacao, de café y cacao, con su propiedad. Y llegó el Terrano Minimambo. Oye, sí, hacer vaya Cuba. ¿Cómo? Pollito. Enyuntado. Castiga, Victorí. Castígala.
papi, sigue soñando. Y mientras tú sueñas, yo gozo. ¡Qué valía!
Llegó la morena de nuevo. José Lima. La morena mía, ay que me tiene sufriendo. La morena mía, ay que me tiene sufriendo. Pero aún así, ay que la sigo queriendo. Pero aún así, ay que la sigo queriendo. La morena mía, ay negra condena. La morena mía, ay negra condena. Se va pa' la fiesta, ay sin decirme nada. Se va pa' la fiesta, ay sin decirme nada. Oye, eso, Yerdy. ¿Le gusta Daniel Ortiz? Dice Edward Produce, allá en Sabaneta. Dice Edward Produce, ay, allá en Sabaneta. Si no va a seguir, al que no te comprometa. Si no va a seguir, al que no te comprometa. ¡Vámonos! Pero cuánto sabor, Daniel Ortiz. Gonzalo Jimmy Rodríguez y Robert Rodríguez. Y el Chawi en Jubilé de Queens.
Sony Flow y de Chucky.
Y oye eso, papito Guzmán. Con esa morena hay que estar atento. Con esa morena hay que estar atento. Te quita la media, ay con los zapatos puestos. Te quita la media, ay con los zapatos puestos.
Y la competencia están way back, way back. Come on.
Será la incompetencia.
Mambo, cualquiera, pero que guste. Dichoso el que pueda, Lima.
Ay, yo. Y dice así. De Power Here.
Oye, Chago Tambora.
Dígame, Yoba.
Y cuando la morena se fue, ¿qué fue lo que te dijo el doctor?
Ay, doctor. El doctor me dijo, ya que en 3 meses ya pasaron 10.
¿Cómo?
Y miren usted, yo que me pensaba, durante 10 meses me pasan la vida a los 5 meses. Ay, doctor, ay, doctor, ay, doctor, ay, doctor, doctor, atiéndame que no hay seguro médico. Mira, muchacho.
Bueno, pues cuando la morena se fue, yo le dije de esta manera, Chago.
¿Cómo yo? Díselo.
Abú, 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 abú. Y ahora, ¿quién es el que se la sabe, nena? ¿Quién también? Nadie puede.
Yo nací en la bahía de Manzanillo, por Caribe tengo la voz. Si no fuera porque viviera tan lejos, te dijera cómo soy. Nací en tiempo de ese condenado Trujillo, medio muerto nací yo. No tenía ni media hora de vivo cuando mi madre murió. Y a mí me pusieron en un batallón, pedí mi traslado al Guaraguano, de la infantería para la capital. Pedí mi traslado para Pedro Bravo, porque yo no vuelvo para el Arsenal. Increíble. Yo no vuelvo, no. Traía un siendo muchachito, de guardia la vocación. Yo salí a correr tierra solito, del polvo que traje yo. Siendo raso parcela de Trujillo, cabo en la revolución. Las mujeres me devoran el sueldito, si de lechuza me voy. Y a mí me pusieron en un batallón, pedí mi traslado para Guaraguano, de la infantería para la capital. Pedí mi traslado para Pedro Bravo, porque yo no vuelvo para el Arsenal. Y es fácil, yo no vuelvo, no. La vela del cabo Sánchez Benítez, oigan lo que me pasó. El teniente me dijo en palo y en romo, a mi muchacho apresó. Y así mismo vestidito de amarillo, cuando el teniente volvió, me amarré mi mano por la cintura, y así empecé a cantar yo. Deme mi muchacho, hágalo soltar, que ya esa guerrera la mandé a lavar. Si no le conmueve mi palo llorado, dígame qué quiere, si ya lo he ordenado. Dígame qué quiere, si ya lo he ordenado. Cantaron los gallos en ese lugar, pedí mi traslado para Pedro Bravo, porque yo no vuelvo para el Arsenal. Ay, un bendito swing de Papá Dios. In your face. Twin, 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 twin. Watch out. Y te viene ni pa' allá voy a mirar. Uy. Dale. Ya verás. bueno prendía, aunque yo tratara,